morning, or sorry, afternoon, LinkedIn late afternoon, um, and TikTok and YouTube and Facebook. So today I want to talk about, can you block emotional pain from your brain? And the answer in short is no. Now, I'm not a trained psychologist, but obviously I'm a thought leader, so I'm referring to more of Daniel Goleman's work, and some of one particular study is actually called Upbeat Denial Repressors. Now, I'm only going to share my lived experience. I'm not going to go too much into detail about what part of the brain that we're accessing and stuff like that, because it's a bit complicated, and I want these videos to be simplified. So I would argue, being a sufferer of NEAD, non-epileptic attack disorder, which is basically a form of epilepsy that's um, comes under the mental health domain, and it's very closely related to PTSD. So I think sometimes people assume that PTSD is always only soldiers suffer it. Okay, it can be any one of us that have had repressed memories come back to us. And there is, from my research on my own condition, I would say that anybody can have a traumatic experience and suffer PTSD. We just don't know. There are cases where evidence shows us that soldiers suffer it more because they're going into situations that can leave emotional scars in the brain. In my particular case, my childhood come back to me. I have flashbacks. I don't have them anymore, thankfully, praise God. I did have to go through a lot of series of mindfulness, meditation to a certain degree, and spending more time on my thoughts. Obviously, counselling works really well. When we receive bad news, and this is really going on to basically how we deal with anger and some kind of training framework around anger management. So this might be very useful for leadership and management. When we get angry, we have different ways we can deal with it. And I'm really referring to when somebody swears at you and how you respond to that. This is part of the upbeat denial kind of research, where I think in the one study that I've read from Daniel Goleman's book, they tested it against people that basically are kind of immune to swear words, and they didn't react to it. Saying, "No, I'm fine, I'm okay." But the problem is, like my NEAD condition, which is non-epliptic attack disorder, the memories that we have in life, and this is my theory, will get layered on top of each other. And we don't know when those memories are going to come back. So if somebody does swear at you, obviously, number one, you don't want to fight back in a violent way, because that would be not good. And that would be probably against the law. And it's very difficult because somebody can really put you down in the street, for example, call you this, that, and the other, and that's emotional pain. It goes in the brain. When someone says a word, even though you might forgive that person, it's still in the brain. And the danger is that, and that's why, if you're in a domestic abusive relationship and someone puts you down constantly, those layers keep building up to the degree where you might have panic attacks, depression, and high levels of anxiety, and even want to maybe consider ending your life. And the danger is, obviously, you get to a certain stage where you're receiving no help, and then you have to go somewhere to get help professionally, which is antidepressants, and which I don't recommend. I'm not a doctor, but if you suffer those, you're in a abusive relationship, please reach out to the relevant organisations, as well as your GP. But I'm designing these videos, combined with my research and Daniel Goleman, to help people that might not be able to get access to the specialist help, the GPs, etc. Emotional pain is real. I will know that a lot more than others. That lots of people have all suffered in life, but I've suffered a lot of traumatic experiences. Just to give you a quick story, my epilepsy run span of 5 years. And the way that non-epileptic attack disorder works is basically, I would go on the ground, I would shake violently first with my knees, and then I'll go underground, my head will shake violently for up to 2 hours, but you can still talk to me. So, um, I'm still conscious. Now, the problem is with this form of epilepsy, it's incredibly difficult to treat. Scientists know they happen, but they don't know why they happen. And it's very closely related to PTSD. Now, why am I saying this to you? Well, in my own salvation of kind of using my own research to save my life, which it did, hobbies and interests, which is basically the dopamine chemical, you engage more in that to safeguard yourself into states of depression where you feel like stress is coming upon you. We need that help center. Self-regulation and self-awareness. I focus more on self-awareness because I think more people understand that. If we understand why we're thinking that way, why we're upset because that person called us that name in the street, it allows us to rationalize the actual problem. Therefore, it soothes the mind, okay, and it sends signals around the brain. I'm really going, I'm generalizing a basic here. If a psychologist is watching this, they'll know a lot more than what I do. But I'm trying to give an easier sense of stress and anxiety, and especially emotional pain. So someone swears at you in the street, calls you names, or you're even in a relationship where someone puts you down constantly. One of the best ways I've found in my own personal journey, experience certainly with epilepsy, is to spend. You have to get yourself out of the situation. So my seizures would normally kick off when I was at high levels of stress. I didn't have a seizure in front of my students, thankfully. I came close, and in the end, it was that closeness that really took me out of teaching. Um, you have to find a way to lower that stress that you're receiving. Now, that's not easy if you're in an abusive relationship, for example, because you want to get help. And I know that in the world today, there's never going to be enough help to solve every single case of a domestic abuse. It's just not going to happen. The simple reason is that the the demand and supply of the problem, and how we solve things like that, because most crimes and most inappropriate behaviors they all come from our brain. And the real science is being able to teach us ourselves how to look after our self-awareness or our emotional intelligence, our thoughts, feelings, behaviors, so that we can deal with emotional pain a lot better. We can't block it completely. You'd have to be like a cyborg or something and press a button. It's not going to happen. But we can steer more towards rationalized conversations in our self emotions. And when we sit down with an appropriate adult, or if you're giving advice to a young child, you're allowing them, and that's what good parenting is, in my humble opinion, is you're giving them direction of how to deal with a situation. Maybe they've got a bully in school, for example. So I sincerely hope that this makes sense and it's useful. Now, you can package this up into a workshop. If you want to rewind the video back, that's fine by me, and you can use elements into a training workshop. Um, it is important that we understand that, going back to my couple of videos ago, we can't control the outside events. We can't control the cost of living. There's a lot of stress and anxiety to deal with. The war in Ukraine. Obviously, we lost of our great queen. And those in America. You're remembering September 11th. That's a lot of pressure. And the life pressure will always be, an unequal balance. It's how we respond up here. It's where we're going to basically find fulfillment and happiness along our lifetime journey. So, I'll close off and just say some of my useful tips about how we deal with emotional pain. We need to get to a situation where we can come out of that stressful situation, go for a walk out of the house if you're in that relationship, or if that's bad, call the right authorities, get yourself out and put your brain literally and your body in a safe place. That's why meditation and mindfulness is so useful, because it's a form of escapism. and it's sending brain signals up here to say, look, you're safe. When I had my seizures, you know, in my own research, basically pinpointing the fact that I wasn't feeling safe. Panic attacks is because you feel unsafe. But if we can train our brains, which we can to a certain level, in my humble opinion, to make us feel safe, doesn't mean that your life is going to be hunky dory. But you know, what saved me more in the end with my epilepsy, and I had like over 199 calls in 5 years. It was horrendous. Um, was the rationalized side of the brain and increasing my interest in hobbies, interests I liked. And even I got to the stage where, it was quite bad, but then I drew a chart basically on a sheet of paper, and I had all the different hobbies and interests that I liked. And then I scored them, and I've done it over a 2 week period because I was in a state of depression. And it worked. It allowed me to come out of that, depression zone. I'm not saying that's the complete answer because some of you might be suffering from manic depression or long-term depression for a number of years, in which case you need specialist help and treatment. But that's not always going to be available. So we need to get to a level where we're not going into that zone and we're staying in the safe zone of managing our stress and anxiety. And we're saying to ourselves, look, okay, I understand why I'm feeling this way. It's because today, go back to the example, someone swearing in the street. It's just because where I live at the moment is a crime-ridden street. It's high level, and the other week I witnessed a crime and it weren't nice. It's increasing. I have to sleep. My bedroom is like just not that far from the street, and it's heavy on me. I'll be honest, but I'm dealing with it, and I'm allowing myself to feel safe in my home and in my brain because I know that the danger is out there, and it's not coming into my actual bedroom. So I'm allowing myself to feel safe, and the emotional pain of a swear word or an abusive relationship, which goes deeper, of course, because it's over time, is trying to put ourselves, not just for ourselves, but with combined effort of others to help us say, look, you're okay, we're with you, we're going to help and support you. And I know that there are lots of organisations and charities doing some great work, but the reality is that there will never be enough support because you can't grow. We've got 8 billion people on this planet. You can't grow. For everyone to be safe, they'd have to have every person on this planet would have to have a mentor. So you'd have to have 16 billion people on the planet, which is not sustainable, for everyone to have a coaching style practice and safeguard everyone. Now we can get to a level where in companies, for example, we can have a mentor that's a lifetime, and they stay with each other and they mentor each other and they look after each other. Just like I've been championing, my thought leadership around what we use in the British Army is a buddy system. Having two people work together and looking after their hearts and their minds, and knowing when, okay, something's not quite right with you today, what's going on? And that's why coaching practice really should be installed and embedded in companies today. So I'll end it there. I don't want to talk more than 15 minutes because your brain will just switch off from science. That's what they say anyway. Thank you for watching. If this is on YouTube, please subscribe. This is on LinkedIn. Follow my work if you don't know who I am. I'll put this in the mental health forum group. I think from now on, it just seems to perform better there. It's a mental health forum group. Why wouldn't it? And reach out to me if you want to ask me some questions about my own research. It's independent, it's small, it's humble. And in the future, once I get capital investment, I will do some studies, build up my consultancy. But it all takes time, and that's the beauty of lifetime learning. Don't put too much pressure on yourself, just to close off, on your desires to want to achieve so much. Safeguard this first, then you will succeed because you're allowing yourself to manage the stress, manage the anxiety of wanting to perform in life, whether it's business, in work, promotion, looking after your family. Give yourself time. Give yourself time. One thing I've learned from my epilepsy, which was just horrendous, like I said, was you can't do everything in one day. Manage your thoughts by recognizing that and slowing yourself down. Thank you for watching, everybody here. Again, please subscribe or follow my work. I'm Stephen Fahey, the founder of the Learning for You family. I own 8 digital brands, and they're all designed to help people and change global trends for the better. Okay, thanks again. Take care. Bye for now.